Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, MrBooMStickXL. And like many weeks before, there is big gaming news around every corner. In order to break down this mountain of information, I needed to put together a panel that could handle the load, and I did just that. First up, making his triumphant return to Breakfast with Boom. You know him as the host of the most excellent Basement Arcade Radio podcast, someone who has a big voice in the community, and a gamer who observes both sides of a situation and looks for sensibility instead of calling media bias. Please welcome Enrique.
Dude, I love that introduction, man. Thank you, Boom. It's awesome to be back. And dude, I'm excited, man. The topics that you have when you dropped, and I hope we get to this, when you dropped Famitsu, I can never pronounce that.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, this is gonna be great. Like
Yeah,
that's such a blast from the past, man. But hopefully we'll get to that later on. But
no,
man.
we're gonna definitely get to that. It's important. It's actually part of the original, one of the original topics I wrote for the show. But you know what? Let's keep it moving so we can get into these amazing topics. Next up, we have a man so deep undercover in GameStop, they consider him an employee and they actually put him on the payroll. Creator of the outstanding Gamer Forte YouTube channel, proud father and husband, and a Nintendo fan that appreciates the classics, and someone who gives you his own opinion. Please welcome Nautical, aka Gaming Forte.
Ah, man. All right, so there's been a running joke in this community that I should change my everything over to Nautical because Luca, for some strange reason, wants to just call me Nautical everywhere I go. So that's why the actual Twitter was.
That's funny.
To that. So really appreciate the invite, man. Definitely looking forward to this show because all the hard work you put into it, and congratulations, man. You deserve every bit of the accolades you get. You're starting to turn into the everyday Oprah Winfrey for YouTube right now.
Oh man, that's awesome of you to say. Look, let me tell you something. Being a part of this outstanding community is what drives me to do the shows. I have had the fantastic fortune of meeting people that I may not ever meet in real life. And, relationships like that are supposed to not work. And for some reason or another, I feel closer to some people that I've never actually met than some of my own family. And it's an amazing, this community has accepted me with open arms. Obviously, Enrique and I were talking prior, when I first actually came on the scene, I did actually a podcast with Luca, and it wasn't a gaming podcast. It's when she used to work with Blue Rendezvous, and it was a life podcast. And there were some real heavy questions regarding my prior career that were in there, and I had no problem answering them. I was saying, my wife was a little nervous. Should I come out that I was, ex New York City police officer? And I thought it had to be. It had to be, my background in community policing and being a youth officer for the NYPD for over 21 years really transitioned easily over to being a public figure, I guess, if within the community. And I am so honored that the community has just basically reached out and gave me the biggest hug. It's amazing. And I was going to say this in regards to you, Nautical, if Luca wants it, Luca gets it. So you're Nautical. Sorry.
I know. I figured
you know what? Let's keep it going because we have some incredible people that I kind of want to talk about here. Next up, we have a die-hard fan of all things gaming, someone with a passion and appreciation for the indie game scene, a trustworthy and stout community member, a gamer who is a proud supporter of all three gaming platforms, and creator of the awesome Indie Gamer YouTube channel. Please welcome Indie Gamer.
Wow. That's something. Thank you very much, Boom. Absolutely awesome to be back on with more awesome guests to meet and be actually hang with all the awesome chat as usual. It's a pleasure to be on your show as always, my friend. Thank you very much for having me on again.
It is absolutely a pleasure and an honor to have you on. We have talked privately. I just wanted to give you the heads up. I didn't send you the DM, but in the future, because I trust you so much and because I have so much respect for you, you are now a moderator of this channel.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's an honor. Thank you.
Yes, it's you know, again, you got to have people in your corner who you trust, and actually, who suggested you to me is UK Dazarus, another incredible community member who does everything for everyone. But you know, thank you for being here, and of course,
thank you. That'll be my pleasure to be a moderator for you, my friend. That's absolutely awesome.
That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. And last, and in no way least, a gamer who considers himself crispy smooth when it comes to the shooter genre. RDX panel member, die-hard gamer, who when he loses a round in Apex Legends, yells out, Malaka! Huge tech guru and someone not afraid to tell you his opinion, even if he doesn't agree with it. Please welcome the incredible and outstanding Zalker87.
What's going on, everybody? Boom. Thank you for the amazing intro. I'm glad to be back on. If I sound like I just woke up,
it's because you just woke up.
Because I did. The sun's not even up on this side of the coast.
Yes.
We don't know what's going on. No one's functioning. But hey, when I hear gaming and I hear the horn call from Boom, I'm always functioning this early in the morning for him. So let's get going.
I really appreciate that. Let me tell you something, dude. You have exploded on the scene. You're relatively new to the community. You are extremely active with the community. You have a very strong opinion. Your gaming channel has exploded. I watch your videos. I have the bell icon clicked, so when it pops, I'm listening. And I really appreciate because you're a tech guy, you kind of look at it from and which is why I really dig like D-Batch and Dealer and Colt Eastwood. I'm not a technical guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the ins and outs. And I had to plug a fan into the wall socket, you know what I'm saying? And I could barely put this channel together. So when you break down like the real intricate parts of gaming that are really behind the scenes, I appreciate that.
Thank you. And you know, I actually have to take a second. I posted something yesterday about I'm not going to say a name or anything, but a certain guy actually taking one of my videos and kind of.
I heard that. I actually read that he stole one of Dealer's as well. I read that this morning.
Yeah, he stole one or two of Dealer's. He stole one of mine. One of my viewers brought it up to me around midnight the night before, but I didn't really know what to do, so I just posted it to the guy, trying to like be nice about it, but. He removed the video, and I really do believe it had nothing to do with me, and it had to do everything with. And it had to do with everybody watching, because people did message him, and the community really did like rally around me and kind of were like, "Hey, man, what's going on with this?" And the guy ended up blocking me on Twitter and taking the video off. Never responded, but I have to say that the community, really did just have my back and have Dealer's back, and I have to say, I really appreciate everybody in this community, and it was just really cool to see people just being there for each other, and so that's really cool for me. I really enjoyed that. I didn't expect it. I just wanted to talk to the guy and get it done with, but everybody else was there, and it was great, honestly.
Yeah, you know what? It is pretty awesome when you have the community watching your back. I have to be honest with you. It's happened to me where people have stepped up for me. I'm not even going to bring up the incident because actually I probably lost 10 pounds the week it happened. I was so sickened by it that it I'm going to say nearly ruined me. It broke my heart. So I'm not even going to mention it. But yes, it is pretty awesome when the when the people of the community see something and they kind of say something. Again, we don't like the name bashing. We don't like the pouncing on the rabbit, so to speak. If you're an old Bugs Bunny fan, you know what that means. But it is good when someone in the community that's a fan of yours sees something and is like, hey, wait a second, this isn't right. And they bring it to your attention because, it is. Everyone has lives. Outside of this channel, I have, my wife is my first priority and I take care of the house while she's working. So there's a lot of times I don't know what's going on because I'm doing stuff in the house, you know. But yeah, that's actually, it was bad, but at the same time it was good. That, you know what, let's we're already 10 minutes into the show and we've just been talking BS, and the people are here to talk about video games, and that's what I'm about to do now. This first topic is going to be it's going to be one that's going to be I think a lot of people in the community are going to dig. I think everybody in this panel is going to have a strong opinion on it. It's an original topic I wrote for the show, and it's journalism and the responsibility of persons or a person writing an article that potentially thousands of gamers will read and sometimes use to determine if they will purchase a game. Now, before we break down this very loaded question, I wanted to read the actual definition of what a journalist is and their responsibilities to their readers. Now, I pulled this definition directly from careertrend.com. And this is what it says, and it's very interesting. Working as a journalist is not a job to be taken lightly. Journalists have a duty to report the news thoroughly and without bias. If you aspire to be a mouthpiece for the audience, understand your role, your audience, and the power of your words. Strive every day to uphold the journalistic integrity that comes with the power of the pen and work to achieve the goal of delivering the most complete and balanced story possible to your audience. Now, the reason why I bring this up on today's show is for a lot of reasons. Someone who reviews a game is entitled to their opinion. I want that to be completely understood. I refuse to be the guy that says, wait a second, mister over there, you can't give this a 64 because I gave it an 85. How dare you? Everyone's opinion is important. I want that to be understood. Enrique, I want to go to you first on this. Obviously, journalistic integrity has been at the cusp of many conversations in the last, 10 days, 14 days. We saw Crackdown get destroyed. We saw the new Dragon Ball game get destroyed. We saw what happened with Anthem. It got destroyed. We're going to be talking about Devil May Cry a little bit later. That, in fact, did not get destroyed. In fact, it blew our minds. But, there seems to be... Look, the thing is this. I'm not picking on a generation, and I'm not going to be the old whippersnapper. Hey, you whippersnapper, you can't do what I did. I'm an old man, but I'm not an old man. You know what I'm saying? I have experience. I've been gaming for a very long time. But I'm going to say this. For someone who bought print magazines for so many years, and I subscribe to everything. Videogame.com, Gamers Republic, Die Hard Gamer, Nintendo Power. We're talking like real old school print magazines. And their journalists, okay, and I say that with air quotes, were something special where they wrote about the game, not about how they didn't like it because they weren't into the genre. They wrote about the game that was put in front of them, and they rated their opinions on the games itself. It seems as if in 2019, and I'm not throwing everybody under an umbrella, I don't do that, but you have to admit that there's a lot of people doing a job that maybe don't want to do the job, and they're kind of half-assing it. What do you think about that, dude?
All right. I think a couple things have happened. I think bringing up print media is actually a great example of kind of and it hasn't just impacted gaming media. I think you see this across, news media, where we're in this 24/7 news cycle.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't think journalists don't have, the leisure of taking time to really put out, articles the way they used to, because they're rushing to get that next story out because of the, 24/7 news cycle, the internet, you got to beat this website out to get the story out, so you don't miss out on potential revenue clicks. There's that aspect of the business now to contend with, and so the approach has probably changed. I think Boom. I think I go back to, I think you mentioned like Nintendo Power. and even like Game Informer. If you look at Game Informer now, I still subscribe to. I still get.
So do I. I love Game Informer.
Yeah,
I really
but
do.
Those are a little bit more insightful articles because they can take the time to do that. You know, they're not rushing to try to beat IGN out on the story or Kotaku. You know, they're not part of that 24/7 news cycle. So I think that's part of it. I also think the other part too is I think a lot of people have looked at reviews and have said that, you know, it's interesting. I think when the whole, like, you know, I've talked about this to death about the whole media bias stuff. Yeah, I think that when people forget with reviews and people forget with journalism, you know, everything you said, by the way, Boom, is accurate with journalism. But I think a lot of people forget that under journalism, there's different types of journalism. There's news,
Yes, there is. Absolutely.
there's reviews, there's columns.
There's love interest pieces. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, feature writing. You know, and I think probably with the internet, the websites, you probably see more column feature writing.
Yes, I agree.
Than you actually do news story. I would say the only person I really think who does like true news stories on the internet is probably Jason Schreier.
Okay.
You know, I'm not aware of anyone else that really does the kind of reporting he does. You know, I always feel like he tends to get the scoop and the inside in terms of like what's happened, like when, you know, Visceral was shut down and the whole thing with Amy Hennig. He was able to kind of flesh that story out a little bit. But I don't remember anyone else really kind of, you know, putting out that kind of story or you know, putting out there's kind of that kind of investigative journalism that we see or have seen. I think he's probably the only one. But anyhow, so I think people forget that, you know, with reviews, you know, it is partly opinion, partly fact based, and the end game of the review is really just to, you know, for somebody to kind of just take an intelligent or informed opinion on the game that they're reviewing, and that's just through playing it and through their own experience of playing other games within maybe a similar genre, or games that are similar, that played similar to the game that they're reviewing, and they're going to give their opinion on that, and that's kind of where I think you see a lot of disagreement. But there are parts of games that are fact, or parts of reviews that are based on fact, and
I agree. Yes,
those are performance issues. Like if, you know, someone comes out and says, "Hey, you know, Anthem has a loot problem right now." You know, it's true. I mean,
sure it does. Absolutely.
Yeah, Anthem has long load times. It does have long load. I mean, so those things those things are facts, but I think a lot of times people just get wrapped up in the opinion piece. And like I said, this like the whole Crackdown thing, like no one's right or wrong here. Like if you love Crackdown, that's awesome. Like love it. You know,
the score shouldn't. I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. If you enjoy, like I really, really thoroughly enjoyed Crackdown 3.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan. My review, obviously, I should have given it an 8.0 instead of a 7.5, to be honest with you, when I went back and listened to the show, because I really enjoyed it. I thought, you know what? I don't want to sound like a fanboy. I want to judge the game for what it is. And it really is an 8 to me. And that's removing the fanboy nonsense. And some people think it's a 4. And you know what? I appreciate someone being honest. What I don't respect and what I have a problem with is the shaming that went on with people saying they like this game. It was to the point of nauseum, to be honest.
Yeah. No, that's never good in the community. No one should shame anyone for liking something. I mean, you know, and I feel like it's like the gaming communities where I see this a lot, the shaming.
It's also a very younger,
yes.
more social media. You know, instead of actually talking to people, and I'm not picking anybody. If you're a kid and you're listening, first of all, thank you for listening. But it's a generational thing. You know, we're a lot older, and we grew up in the arcades where we interacted with our friends. Nowadays, most people interact through social media, and they don't know how to speak to one another, and it comes out, and that's why, you know, it comes out on your text as not being nice.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I also think with journalism, I mean, look, you're like anything. It's funny, like you were talking about police officers before you went live, and you know, and so when you were comparing, you know, police officers, how there's mostly good police officers, and there's some bad ones, and
yes,
and unfortunately the bad ones tend to get the majority of the attention sometimes.
Yes,
that actually got me thinking about this topic, because like anything else in life, like journalism, and not just gaming journalism, but even with sports journalism, you have certain sports journalists that aren't really good, in my opinion, aren't good, and I don't really follow them or read their articles. And so, I think you're going to have that with everything, with anything. There's some people in gaming journalism that I won't read their articles because I don't really care for their writing style.
Okay.
I might not necessarily agree with their opinions. And I always treat gaming journalism as a case-by-case basis. Even with some of the journalists that I do enjoy reading their material, I always treat it on a case-by-case basis. Like, I enjoy reading a lot of like Ryan McCaffrey stuff, but I don't always agree with Ryan, and so that's always been my approach with gaming journalism. It just, I know what I like. I look at reviews, and if I'm kind of on the fence with the game, I'll look at a review and say, and kind of not just one review, I'll read multiple reviews, because I'm always looking to see if there's certain issues in the game that may be a reoccurring theme within reviews. And, I've been doing this long enough to know that, if there's a reoccurring issue, if there's certain aspects of a game where there's a consensus that people don't like, I'll take that into consideration. Because typically through experience where I didn't do it, I so often got burned.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
But again, I just, for me, it's just, I don't put a lot of like weight into it. So, that would be my only advice to people, like with reviews, don't put a bunch of weight into it. You know what you like, don't let it deflate your excitement for a video game. If you like it, you like it, and understand that, not all journalists or there's not this big conspiracy theory against Microsoft. There's not.
Yeah, we've talked about this and we've laughed. There's no one reviewer sitting in the corner grasping their hands like a villain. I'm going to screw Microsoft today. But unfortunately, even though that is not true, I've read numerous articles where you can tell the writer has a discontent for the company. And I'm not just saying it's a Microsoft thing. I've read it for Sony as well. You've read people that are typically Xbox people, and you can listen, it comes out in your writing. That's why you have to be fair and honest. Because it's the same way on camera. And I talked about this at the IGN video and the GameSpot. Listen, because of my prior career, I was trained to learn body language for safety reasons. And it's just something I do. I can read someone's body language, and what I read on their body language was not good. They had a that I didn't want to be here kind of an attitude. You can tell with the way their shoulders were, the way that they were talking, the way they were nonchalant about it. And you know what? I think that they're failing the viewership when they do that. If you don't want to be there, hand it off to someone that wants to be there. Maybe he's not excited as a boomstick for the game, but you have to have enthusiasm when you're doing this, whether you like it or you don't.
I mean, me, Boom, honestly, like I look at that like as a situation where I think my thought process is a little bit different. I actually, if they're not excited about playing it, I don't want them to fake it either. I
agree. I absolutely 100% agree with you, but it should be forthcoming. You know what I'm saying? It should come through the video. I didn't get that, but I don't know. I mean, but listen, both of you and I are respectful dudes, and we can debate about this until the cows came home.
Yeah.
But I just want to do a couple of shout outs real quick before I get to Forte. First of all, Raymond Morel with the outstanding $5 super chat. And I if you're new to the channel, thank you so much, because I don't recall seeing you, because I would have said hello. He says, love your podcast, Boom. Probably the most mature podcast about gaming on YouTube. Keep up the good content, and I'll keep tuning in. And yes, I can rest assured what you see is what you're going to get, and it's only going to get better. I really go out of my way. I put a lot of work into this channel, and I do it with respect for the viewer before I even respect for myself. Next, I have to thank Dream Eater, who is a friend of the show, with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, every week we wait for Friday's Breakfast with Boom. Thanks for the wake up show. Keep them coming. Well, thank you for being here. That is extremely kind of you to say. And another big friend of the channel, Gotham Guy, who's here all the time. Thank you so much with the outstanding $5 super chat. And he says, I like the way Saltiest Gaming reviews his games by breaking the game into categories and gives scores based on what you like. And you know what? I have to agree with you. Salty is doing a lot more reviews. If you don't subscribe to that dude, he's my partner on Gaming News at Noon with Salty and Boom on Wednesdays, and he's an amazing community member. But he does really good videos, and I do appreciate the way he does that. He does break it down for the viewer. But Forte, what I want to just read real quick is an excerpt from Journalism Ethics and Standards, and I want it's short, and I just want to get your opinion on it. It says professional integrity is the cornerstone of a journalist's credibility. The Radio, Television, Digital News Association, an organization exclusively centered on electronic journalism, maintains a code of ethics centering on public trust, truthfulness, fairness, integrity, independence, and accountability. Now, the reason why I pulled this particular one is because we are talking about electronic journalism, just like what Enrique was just saying. And I have to say, what I've noticed, look, there's a couple of things here. YouTube is a vast wormhole of talent. There are so many. I mean, listen, the million sub guys, the ninjas and whoever else is the big ones out there. I don't follow any of them. I'm going to be honest.
Angry Joe.
Yeah, Angry Joe's another one. Yes, Angry Joe. There's quite a few of them. And you know what? Their work is their work. Okay. I'm not saying I don't like it. I just don't listen to it. It's for a younger crowd. I totally get that. And good on them. Congratulations on all the success that they have. But there are not that many of those guys. There are quite a few of them. But when you look at the smaller channels, you look at Crossfire, you look at RDX, which is not really small because they have thousands of views. You take a guy like Zolk, or you take a guy like you guys, Forte and Enrique, my channel, the Welsh Gamer. There are a significant amount of more smaller channels than there are larger channels, and we are starting to have a voice within the community. My problem with what's going on in media today is because they are losing viewership by the thousands, because they're not reporting the correct news, or they're doing it in a way that people just are not enjoying. They start getting very clickbaity. Okay, right. That's my biggest problem. I want to get your opinion on that, Forte.
All right, so the biggest thing I noticed is when it really comes down to just journalism in that regard is everybody wants to be quick to the story. It's no, compared to back when it was mostly just written journalism and we didn't have internet. So we had internet, but we didn't have this instant gratification when it comes to the information that we want to know. People had more time to write out and think about the thoughts and stuff that they wanted to put. Most of the story was already told. It was basically just waiting to be told to you in a way where you can just assume all the information at once and have the whole story at once. Now we have situations where they'll talk about something and then 2 days later, they're talking about it again. Think about Yanye in his videos. He'll do like 5 videos on Anthem because more and more information comes out about the game or about the situation of the game. And then you finally get the final and full story about the 5th video in. And then by that time, a lot of the stuff that people probably had issues with really wasn't the problem, and there was something else, or people are finding other problems with the game, and it's just this continual cycle of either really bad PR for something and not warranted, or the conversation just gets splintered across a whole bunch of different disciplines when it comes to just journalism in general. My biggest problem is, especially like when you're talking about reviews and stuff. I said this on Brap a couple of last week. I 100% agree with people having their own opinion when it comes to reviews. or having their own opinion when it comes to journalism in general, because it's your word. What you say, you should be truthful about, and it should be how you feel about it. But a lot of people kind of take the essence away from themselves when they're thinking about, okay, this is what I feel, but what about everybody else? You should always have this little mechanism in you that says, okay, I may not like this, or this may be something that I disagree with, but how does this fall on other people? How do I think this will be received by the public in general? Do I think there's going to be about an outrage from it? Do I think that this is going to be a situation where this game is being criticized for a certain thing that it shouldn't be criticized for? Like, do I believe something should get a 4 out of 10 because it's broken? Well, if it's broken, yeah, a game that's broken 4 out of 10 is a really good review because it's just not working. What about something that's a 6 out of 6.5 out of 10? Well, is it just because I didn't enjoy the game, or is it because the game doesn't have any redeeming qualities to make it want to be like a 7 or anything like that? Me personally, when I look at someone's review, or I'm looking at somebody's article, I'm looking at it from the lens of, hey, is this something that I just enjoy, or do I think other people, is there fun to be had here? Is there anything that people can just glean from just a little bit of instance that they talk about in these type of reviews or these type of journalism things that we're talking about? I think Jason Schreier does a really good job because he's always in those rooms when we're hearing about the things that's happening. When Activision let all these people go.
Yeah, he broke that story.
He broke that story. And guess where he broke that story at? At Activision. He broke it as he was in the parking lot talking to people about what was going on. He broke it in the middle of their office while people were like talking about, they didn't know exactly what was going to happen with their jobs the day before. And this is something that he does on a consistent basis.
Jason's deep cover.
when Bungie was getting ready to separate from Activision, where was he at? He was at Bungie Studios when he even said in his article, he said they were jumping and leaping for joy when they found out officially that they were separating from Activision. And that's because he was in the room. He was letting us know the feelings of the people at the time of what this news was dropping. We don't see enough of that when it comes to just journalism in general. That's why when I see somebody talking about their feelings around something, okay, so why do you feel this way? Are you feeling this way just because of the situation you're in? Or do you feel like this is something that's going to land fully on the community? And I think that's the biggest thing. They don't take the community into their thought process or their conversation when they think about this stuff. And that's where we need to get a lot better as just journalism and then just reporting on the stuff that we're talking about in general.
Dude, let me tell you something. That was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. Really amazing points. I knew this was going to be a hot topic. Everyone has been completely knocking it out of the park. Zolker, I want to go to you, dude, because you're new on the scene in regards to content creation. And we've talked privately, and when I talk to you, you have a sense of responsibility that you carry with you when you talk about games, but more specifically when you're putting out videos. You can tell that there's work that goes in on the back end to make sure that what you're talking about is in fact the correct information. What you do, what I do, what everyone on this panel does, and what so many other amazing people I've worked with on YouTube in the 15-month being a part of this community, is they do the work. And it seems like that work is just missing by a lot of the younger so-called journalists. Can you add to that?
I actually almost feel sorry for them, for the people, especially journalism in general. With it's a very especially the people that report on actual not gaming. Those people have a hard time, right? We've seen the stuff politically, what happens. We've seen the stuff that happens overseas, people being attacked. And, I have a lot of respect for journalism. I really do. One of my buddies is a journalist. We went to school together. He's a journalist. He writes for the San Francisco over here. And, he writes sports, but he also writes, pieces about corruption or anything like that within the city. And it's a very dangerous job.
That is definitely
and that's
yeah.
like, you know,
Mhm.
it's something that I thoroughly respect. And you know, as a gaming journalist, you know, I feel bad for them because I talked to somebody about this that you know, writes reviews, and he tells me, you know, a 6 to me, he goes, when he says, when I give a game a 6 or a 6.5, it's just a, hey, this game's okay, it's just not for everybody. And I tell him, I was like, well, what's a 5 or a 4 then? What's a 3? And he showed me some games, you know, and I'm not going to say what they are because I kind
Right.
of don't even remember the names, but I look at them and he's like, these are the games I play. I play these games a lot, not these big AAA games. So he goes, I know what a 5 or a 4 or a 3 looks like. He's like, so when I play a Crackdown, when I play a this, he goes, you haven't played these other games. So you're thinking Crackdown as a 6.5 or a 6 is a terrible game when it's not. He goes, the number skew is just there. He goes, I think of a 7 of somebody will find fun with this. He goes, 8 is everybody would find fun, and 9 is this is setting the generation. Like this is setting a standard that a lot of other companies should look for.
Nice.
And you know, when I look back on that, it's true. I don't play too many indie games. I started playing a lot more of them because of Game Pass, but I'm not a big indie game guy. You know, I'm a competitive multiplayer. I play single player. I play the big games that everybody plays, and we have this standard of, hey, it should be at 8 or above, or it's trash. And I don't think that's journalism's fault. I think that's, to be honest with you, I think it's a lot of the trolls that try
Preach.
to get under people's
Yes, that's
skin.
a great point. You said trolls. That's
Can
an
I
excellent
interrupt real
point.
quick? Can I just say something real
No,
quick?
please
Zocker,
go ahead.
Zocker, that is the best explanation I've heard of reviews. That insight is invaluable. And I've been trying to figure out how to articulate that. And you just nailed it, man. Because I've had conversations with journalists, and that's how it's been broken down to me. And that's what I was trying to actually boom. I think, you know, last Saturday when we were talking about Crackdown, that's what I was trying to, like, the message I was trying to convey, you know, with regards to like some of those 8 and 9 titles, you know, and then what did 6 and 7 really mean. So Zalker, that is the best explanation I've heard of reviews and how these scores are assigned.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and you know, after talking to people, and you know, why I review, like I made a video of Anthem is Broken, and you have no, like, you could talk to Colt and you know, Colt, me dealer, like we're very good friends,
Mm-hmm.
and they were even like, hey man, like, are you, like, you know, what's going on with the game? Because I don't bash games. I hate bashing games, and I had to make it because it was broken. And I wanted to inform people. And if you saw 2 days ago or a day ago, I brought out another one about helping people learn how to play the game. And you know, when a couple people talked about that guy that reviewed Anthem, like, oh, he doesn't even know how to combo. Well, to be honest with you, that is a big thing that I've been getting feedback on in my help thing, is that a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't know the mechanics of the game because the developer didn't put any tutorial whatsoever on how to do things.
It is lacking in instruction for sure.
Well, it's lacking in a lot of things, you know, instruction, end game, you know, functionality, just certain things. But you know, we're not going to go into a review of the game. But what I'm saying is that that's the biggest game that's come out probably this whole year. It was very anticipated. People couldn't wait for it. I was one of them, and they just, you know, didn't hit the mark. And that's, you know, for a journalist to report on that and look at the flaws, it sucks because I feel like as they're writing it, they're like, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I have to report it. And that's why I have respect for them. But at the same time, are they competing with us, with other people like you were talking about, Angry Joe, stuff like that? Yeah, of course they are. And sometimes they want to get, you know, stuff out first or something like that, but their platform does get early access to games before we do. In order to be a big reviewer, you know, you do get early access to a game. So I understand like the downfall of what could happen as a journalist. And it sucks, but you know, that's part of the game. And
Yeah.
it hurts to like see people take the, you know, the trolling to the next level when a game comes out and just bash it for no reason, even though they never played it.
Yes, I
And it's
agree. I
like,
think that's
and
a
it's
big
like
problem.
and then I think people take it to heart when these trolls just attack you for liking the game. Like I love Crackdown. I enjoyed it. Do I give it an 8 or above? No, because I reviewed the game. I gave it a 7.9, but at the same time, I'm a huge Crackdown fan. And I've always been a Crackdown fan, and I took that into consideration And I've talked to younger people that don't even know what Crackdown is, and they don't, and they played the game and they didn't like it. And I knew they weren't going to like it because I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't catered to them. And I knew, and I think Microsoft knew it wasn't that good of a game because Brad Sams, who was on Crap's channel, you know, like about 2 days ago, which was a great episode of
That was fantastic.
BGFD.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Xbox Station, I believe.
Yeah, he said, you know, hey, you know, Xbox's biggest fear right now is that Game Pass is a cesspool of mediocre games.
Yeah.
And, you know, Microsoft should be afraid of that because that's what's been coming out.
Yeah.
And while I love Sea of Thieves and I love, you know, I don't like State of Decay 2 all that much, but I love Sea of Thieves and I loved Crackdown, I can see where the fear can creep in.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact as an Xbox gamer is that, one, we should always demand better. Two, I don't blame a journalist for reporting things that I actually see. And three, ignore the damn trolls. Make a decision on your own and find someone that reviews games and has the same, you know, kind of integrity that you want. Like, let's say somebody likes a game that you liked, keep an eye on him. If he likes another game that you like, keep an eye on him again. And that guy will have the same interest at heart that you do. And that's a reviewer you could follow. Don't just follow anybody. Follow someone that suits your needs because every gamer is an individual and every gamer has their own, you know, wants and needs in a game. So that's pretty much.
I mean, that was look, that was you can't argue with anything you said. It was like I said, everyone has just been really knocking it out of the park. And of course, I want to close out this very, very loaded topic with the indie gamer. Look, you know, the question I have for you, Indy, is this, and I know that you have an opinion because I saw you've gone back and forth with people regarding this. My question to you, and actually to the chat, I want to get people's opinion on this, is what standards should we, the gaming public, hold these big time sites like IGN, like GameSpot, Giant Bomb, and Kotaku? Clicks gets them revenue, and like I said, I said this earlier, I'm not claiming any of them are purposely seeking to do any particular company damage. It just doesn't make any sense when you even say it out loud. It just doesn't, because they have to work with these people because they're in the industry, but at the same time, many casual gamers, which make up at least, and I'm going low here, I'm lowballing this, 70% of the market share use these sites. Do they have a responsibility to be more honest and forthcoming with their reviews on every game released?
I definitely would say so, especially the big boys like the IGNs out there. I mean, like, for example, the review they done of Resident Evil 2, was it IGN who done half a review and then realized that there's more game to play? And was that them? I believe they played through like the Leon campaign or something and realized, and then realized there's more game to play. It's just things like that but that comes from not making excuses for it, but that comes from the pressures, I think, to try and get things out first. They're just trying to rush through reviews when they have to realize that they all the eyes are on them, and they have to realize that there's a lot of responsibility to be had and made sure that they're thorough with their reviews and everything. But there is a lot of pressures to get things out first, to get the clicks, to get up on the search rankings, the SEO, all the top of that sort of stuff. It's a really competitive scene. I definitely would say though, like you've seen, Boom, a lot of people are saying reviews are dead. I don't look at reviews anymore. I'm really adverse to that, to be honest, myself. I think it's about finding people that you trust.
Great point, dude.
Yeah,
great point.
I don't really look at the IGN reviews anymore and stuff like that, but it's finding people, I've said a million times, people like Saltius Gaming and Rand and people like that who you really can trust, and like they're like-minded, and also, sorry, it's not my mic out the way. Excuse me. And also, it's not just about looking at one review and then saying, well, that's out there. And it's about, selecting a few and then weighing up the pros and cons from them and seeing how you feel about it. And then you formulate your own opinion from those reviews. It's not just going, right, that's sorted. It's, it's doing the research from different pools of opinions, I think, and then taking that and then making your own decision on it. But I really think it's a sad thing when people say reviews are dead, because I think, you know, in a form, everyone's getting a review. If you're having a conversation with someone, you're getting a review off them.
Exactly. Yes.
Great point.
Yeah,
Great point.
Like everything, reviews are in everything. Like, just if I was to say, like, what do you think of a game, and they're like, you know, that's it, and that's a mini review in a form. So I definitely don't think reviews are dead. It's just the way they've been, you know, people are. I think there's I've been burnt by a few of the big boys who are doing things a bit, you know, a bit sketchy, and you know, that's not a good show in a way. But yeah, there's a lot of great like small creators out there, and also the fact like the way reviews are done, and different kinds of journalism, you know, they are, you know, for example, you know, if you watch the 6 o'clock news or something, the facts are just presented, and then that's that. There's the facts kind of thing. They're not right. Here's the facts. There was a situation today, and then they don't give their opinion on it. That's a different kind of journalism to what we would like to see off of our YouTubers for gaming related journalism. So, you know, we do like that opinion. We want the opinion from our, you know, people we trust, and you know, that I value all that sort of thing for sure. Right. So yeah, I definitely don't think it's a dead medium for sure. It's I actually love the art of a review. I love to listen to a review, hear people's opinions, and then, you know, make a decision based on that. Definitely, would say that reviews are not dead. Don't write reviews off, guys.
No, I don't think that they're dead. I just think you had a really great point of find a reviewer or a site that you trust. It may not be everybody on that you know, media house, but find someone that you trust, and you know, also look to YouTube. I'm not talking about people that scream into the mic. I'm not talking about people that flaunt themselves on camera just to act a fool so they can get extra super chats and just don't do that. Find, I mean, if that's who you get your reviews from, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that if you're looking for a trusted opinion, just be diligent about who you put your trust in. That's all I'm going to say. But everyone had just amazing points of view. This was I wasn't sure how this topic was going to go, and it went better than I could have imagined. I want to move on to the next one if that's okay. But real quick, I have to thank a big friend of the show, Jesse Darby, with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, "Boom, the way you handle your show is excellent. Keep coming out with the great content." That's very kind of you to say. I trust me when I tell you, when people say that to me, it really does make me smile from ear to ear. You don't see it because I'm not on camera, but seeing compliments like that are even more important than the super chats, which of course I appreciate. But it's the fact that I'm putting out content that people enjoy. It really makes me, double down. Staying up past 1 a.m., writing 3 days a week, I enjoy doing it. I do my best writing after midnight. I say that all the time. But I'm not sorry that I do, because people are enjoying the time I put into the channel. So thank you for that. This is another original topic of discussion I wanted to bring up. Guys, game development cost has skyrocketed to a level that eclipses some of today's big budget films. And in order to maintain the quality that most gamers of all three console supports expect, developers are trying to maintain the integrity that comes with the game creation, but at the same time monetize a developed title to be of a games of a service that offers new content through DLC and microtransactions. And in a recent article from Gamasutra, Amy Hennig calls single-player games just a harder and harder proposition in today's market. And the Uncharted famed developer had this to say on the subject, and I want to read a few things from her because it was really, really interesting. "I don't think anyone would say single-player is dead. Look at the current crop of games. It's just harder and harder to sell." When asked why it's becoming more difficult, she responded with a fantastic amount of answers. And I kind of want to read that before I get into what the panel thinks on this. Time and expectations. We used to make games in a year. Jak 3 was made in a year. Uncharted took 3 years because we had to build the whole engine from scratch. Uncharted 2 and 3 both took 2 years each. That is unheard of in today's gaming scope. 3 years is short. Right now, you can already see that that's a lot more expensive than it used to be. She continues with, a lot of games are taking 4 and 5 years, sometimes more. Teams are bigger. The fidelity is higher. There's an inherent requirement, whether it's coming from publishers themselves or players or whatever, that games have more features and are bigger. Now, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Amy's work and consider her, considering that she's on the market since leaving the Star Wars single player project at EA, I would love to see her land at Microsoft and be given her own studio. But Enrique, in regards to the single player so-called being dead, do you agree with what Amy is saying in the current market for gaming?
I don't think single player is going to go anywhere anytime soon, or maybe ever.
Right.
I think what's going to happen is it's going to incorporate some of the newer, things like DLC and charging for skins, things that we're seeing in other multiplayer titles. I think the cost of development really, I think where you probably see the biggest impact to development is to those mid-tier developers. Like, we don't have those like AA studios anymore.
You're right.
It's
a great point, dude.
Gone.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's because of the rising costs of game development. I mean, the indies have kind of filled that vacuum, but I mean, the AA's have really felt that impact. And I think she has really experienced more recently.
Oh yeah.
The kind of the ugly side of first party or AAA development. With working on the Star Wars game and then Visceral being shut down, and it's kind of a scary thing. Like Boom, it's funny. Like we talked about this on BRAP, and I've been meaning to follow up with you on this conversation because I think it'd make for a good podcast. But we talked about like the expectation of future gamers. Like, is Fortnite like what we're gonna like what our like what the future generation of gamers is going to expect? Like, is everything going to go like free to play? I mean, is that kind of the direction we're going because of the rising cost of AAA development? I mean, is that and Fortnite's they're making money hand over fist.
They are. Yeah.
Excuse me. So no, I don't think it's going anywhere. But I do have concerns with the rising costs. I think there's going to be, again, they're going to incorporate, and we're seeing it. They're going to incorporate DLC, paid DLC, and like microtransactions and different things you can buy that you can add into the game. I mean, it kind of, I guess the economics make sense. If you're spending all this money. If you want this thing to make money, you might have to do those things to offset the development costs. But it's interesting now. If you guys remember, not even like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, probably, if you sold 1 million copies of a game, that was considered successful.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Nowadays, you sell 8 million, like the last Tomb Raider, and they're like, that didn't meet expectations.
Yeah. Well, apparently I think it's 4 or 5 million now.
No, I'm talking about the one prior to that. I'm not talking about a Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That sold, I think, between 4 and 5. But the one prior, Rise of the Tomb Raider, I think it hit as much as 8 million. And they're like, well, it didn't kind of meet expectation. 8 million copies?
Yeah.
I mean, and at 8 million, my understanding is, I think the break-even point for AAA game, if you sell 4 million, you broke even.
Wow.
And if
I
they
think,
sell
I think the break even for AAA games is if you sell 2.5 to 2 million when it's $60. That's when you break even. I think that's what it is. Not because we gotta think about it. Didn't meet expectations, and it was because some people bought it $30. This many, like Steam sales, stuff like that. So when it's half off, they don't make as much profit. So I think that's what we're talking. But if it's like, that's why they bring out like opening week numbers and stuff like that. Why it's big, because studios are trying to break even, with that 2 million mark or 2.5 million mark.
Wow. Yeah. And that's crazy. And if you think about it, like, like I said, 10 years ago, 1 million was like a hit.
It's tell you, the way that the industry has changed financially, obviously we're, you hear the word entitled, Enrique, like this is an entitled generation. And to some extent it really is. But at the same time, we are all consumers. And a side-scrolling 8-bit game is just not going to cut the mustard when you have the tech we have currently sitting underneath your TV, right? So the bigger the game, the more expensive it is going to, there's mocap, there's all this writing work that goes in, there's the script writing, there's cleaning it up once it's done. There's so much, there are so many people working on a particular game that it's just, I mean, it's evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you have anything else you'd like to add to that, bro?
No, I mean, I don't know, man. I my biggest fear, and this is crazy, like it says, I'm just worried that as I get older, and I know that the expectations of the younger generation of gamers coming through might be different than my own. I don't want to be stuck with games like Fortnite.
Yeah, I tell you right now, I will quit gaming if that ever happens, because that's going to be a sad day indeed. But Zolker, I want to get to you on this. I'm an older gamer. I think that's relatively known, and generally, I enjoy this selfish single player experience, but I also enjoy games of a service. That ideology goes with franchises like Destiny and The Division, and of course the newly released, somewhat broken Anthem. What I look for in these franchises to have continued life outside of putting a number 2 and spending another $60, and that's where the games as a service mantra comes in. When you talk about single player, right? And having having a balance, right? Like having a strong single player game and having a real strong multiplayer game. The two games that come to mind for me, and this isn't a Microsoft thing, this is a reality thing, is Gears of War and Halo. Those franchises give the gamers both, and I think that's important. Do you think that more companies need to do that? Focus on the multiplayer, but also put a single player in there that has a strong story to keep the people buying their games?
That depends. I think that if you are able to make, because the thing with Gears and Halo is that people, when you think of Gears and Halo, you think Marcus Phoenix, Master Chief, Cortana, Dom, you think of that. The Locust, those are in your head. Those are embedded in gamers' heads now because it fit perfectly. The story fit perfectly with the type of games they are. And that's what's amazing about them. And then you tie in the amazing multiplayer, and bada bing, bada boom, you have a hit for, a $1 billion franchise and another $1 billion franchise that can do pretty much anything they want. And that's what people go for that competitive multiplayer. And that's the main shtick. I think the gaming landscape has changed dramatically because of Fortnite. And
yes, absolutely.
I think that what Amy Hennig, to go back on that thing, is it is really hard to make a game like Uncharted 2, which she brought up as an example, because that's about an 11 to 12 hour experience, and that's all you're pretty much getting. And it's not because the investors are going, hey, we don't want those type of games. It's because let's be honest, people, gamers don't want that type of game now.
Yeah,
you look at God of War,
gamers has changed significantly.
Well, if you look even at God of War to me it was God of War, 12, 13 hour experience, maybe 15, if they got crazy. And I just put in 40 hours into the new God of War. And it's an open world game. They changed it. It's you see, it took them 5 years to make. Things just change and evolve because gamers change and evolve and have different interests, and technology follows along with it. And this is going to be the first time in the history of gaming, I've said this multiple times, where technology and the bleeding edge of technology is going to be following gaming because there's investors in it now.
Yep.
Especially Microsoft.
Yes.
They're putting everything they have into gaming right now. All the resources they have is going to go into gaming, and it's going to change even more. And what Fortnite, and to be honest with you, what Apex is doing is completely changing the gaming industry again, because people see it. The industry sees this free to play mantra, and they're just raking it in. Now you have to make a good game. You can't make a free to play game that sucks. and people are not going to do it, and people are not going to.
Yeah, people will try it and walk away immediately. We've seen that with so many free-to-play games you don't even remember the names of.
Yeah, and that's what Apex, when you play it, like when I play it, I'm like, this is the best BR I've ever played. Like, and it's streamed and everything. Call of Duty is number 20. I looked it up because before I was talking about this, is number 20.
Wow.
And Call of Duty is it's the number 20 stream game. The only games up there are Apex, Fortnite, and Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike to me is going to be around forever.
Dude, that game just does not quit.
I have over almost 2,000 hours in Counter-Strike.
Wow.
Global. I play that on PC with my cousins. I love competitive gaming. I love single player games. I just love damn gaming. I'm sorry, it's what I do. And it's the way I am. I just always play it. I love games as a service. I love single player games, but there's always that when I play a single player game like Red Dead Redemption, it will mess me up because I don't really it's well documented. I don't like the game all that much.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I feel the same way. I'm stuck at chapter 4. I'll probably never beat it.
And exactly. And I have friends like that are playing Apex, and I'm like, oh, did you beat Red Dead? And they're like, oh God, no, I'm never going to beat that game. And I'm like, why? They're like, I don't know. I just found it very boring. Like, I just don't know. It was inconsistent to me. And things like that suck because that game is so high budget and it's sold so well. It's kind of like it sold well because of the name, or did it sell well because of the game? And was it actually good? And I think it's one of the most overrated games out. But I digress. It's a hard thing to say what Amy Hennig is talking about because we're not in that industry. We're not pitching these things. We don't know the full numbers of what people are going through, but we have an idea with everything that's happening with Fortnite, Apex, all these games. Multiplayer games to me are king, because people love watching people play each other, competitiveness. It's why people tune into the NFL every Sunday to see another person face another person.
Yep.
NBA, everything. That's what people like. People do go to the movies, and movies cost a lot of money, but gaming just passed movies. You know why it passed it? Because of these multiplayer games.
Zocker, that's actually can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, buddy.
Kind of piggyback off what you said about people wanting to watch games, or streamers. I think that is a great point to bring up because there's actually an article recently I read because my kids, I'm actually, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about my own kids who are like they're going to be they're the future, generation gamers.
Mm-hmm.
And Zocker, they love watching streamers. For the life of me, I don't understand why, but they love it. And there was an article about this, about, your kids watching game streamers. And they were saying that the reason why younger kids, especially, like watching this, is because it's a gratification thing for them. Like they're getting this sense of entertainment and excitement at the touch of their hands whenever they want. And there's so much streaming content out there that they're bombarded by it, and they just love watching it because of that sense of instant gratification.
Well, it's the instant gratification, and it's also a lot of people don't understand this. These people, they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about content creation like entertainment. I'm talking about they're damn good. Like, go watch Shroud. The guy is like on another level.
Yep.
Like, you're watching him and you're like, I'm witnessing something that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Like, it's like watching like LeBron James, right? Like dunking, or, Jordan, whoever, Steph Curry shooting one of these crazy threes. Like, you're not supposed, normal people don't do that shit. I'm sorry. Not one guy sat there and goes, oh, why didn't I think of doing that? Because he couldn't. Because he can't.
That's a great point.
You would have done it if you could.
Yeah, like everybody else is looking at all the other NBA players like, oh, why didn't you do that? Oh, shit, because I can't. like, I'm sorry, I can't shoot half-court threes and, shoot them like Steph. That's why he's MVP. That's why these people are superstars. And that's what Shroud is. That's what a lot of these people are. They are superstars at what they do.
Yes.
And that when I was younger, when I was 15, 16, I did play Call of Duty professionally. You can look up what Cal was. I was in Cal I. I was facing against people in Cloud9, Cyberglobe, 3D, all these older teams when I was younger. And It wasn't easy. It was extremely hard. I took a lot of time to do it. My parents were kind of cool with it. And, it's something that I look back on and I was like, man, I put a lot of hours into that to become one of the better players in Call of Duty and be in these tournaments and play and almost win championships or win championships and, the heartache and all that. And then I look at streaming and I'm like, man, these guys get to showcase that to thousands and hundreds of thousands, or if not millions of people every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you see the skill, and that's what people enjoy watching, is just pure skill.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about what the streamers do. And of course, there's just people like Dr. Disrespect who are just entertaining, that just, have great production quality and people like it because it's entertainment. But I don't know. I think it's hard to correlate that with single player games, because I want single player games to be around forever, and I think they will be. But it is hard to sell a single player game. Like God of War and Spider-Man probably have sold around 10 to 12 million copies. Look how many people are playing Apex Legends and Fortnite.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's definitely crazy.
I think Red Dead Redemption has sold 23 million copies, but at the same time, they're making 5 times less from the online portion compared to GTA.
Yep.
It's little things like that you have to look at, where people are like, single player will always be king, and it's like, it's not, and it hasn't been for a long time. And it sucks to say that, but it is what it is. It's the reality of the situation that we live in now.
Yeah, I mean, times are changing, and like Enrique said, let's just hope that the whole industry doesn't turn into a Fortnite situation, because then it would be ruined. But India, I want to go to you.
The multiplayer aspect of gaming.
I hope not. But you're right. Yeah,
I think Halo is going to be free to play. Everybody's looking at it. I think Halo's multiplayer is going to be free to play. I think a lot of games are going to go free to play, and and if they don't, then I think the people that don't do it are going to fall behind, like Activision. It's just the nature of the beast now. People expect free to play so they can play the game, and they're willing to buy more microtransactions because they didn't put that $60 up.
Right,
front.
they didn't drop the $60 down initially. Yeah, so they feel like they don't mind spending the $10-15 on a hat or something. Yeah,
a hat, yeah, like a pair of gloves. Oh my god, I need those glowing.
I need those gloves because it has a star on it. It matches my outfit or whatever. Yeah, I get it. I understand. But Indy, I want to get to you on the last point. Look, here's the thing. Many in the gaming community, including myself, by the way, look to Sony's first party excellence, if you will, as a prime example why change is not necessarily needed in the gaming space. And Solkers said it. God of War sold very well. Spider-Man, forget about it, ridiculous. It sold fantastic. And you know what? I got to be honest with you. I have a tremendous amount of excitement for Days Gone. I think it's going to sell well. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. I already have the collector's editions pre-ordered and paid for. No surprise there, folks. So, I'm excited for the game. But in your opinion, Indy, someone that, in your name, you tend to look at the smaller games, which some people might overlook. Do you believe that both the single player and multiplayer have a place, a shared space in 2019 and beyond?
Yeah, I definitely would say that single player is here to stay. I think the multiplayer arena is changing a lot, and it definitely looks like it's going that way, as to be like free to play and bolstering up on the microtransactions. That's looking like it's the way it's going. But I definitely think that single player is here to stay. But the thing is the more the bigger games get, the more money gets thrown at things. It's what they're trying to. The only place they've got to go is kind of bigger, if you know what I mean. Bigger is better. I think they're taking that mentality. Then maybe they just need to be thinking a little more outside the box. I know it's easier said than done, but maybe they need to innovate a little more, because all they're doing is throwing more and more money at it. Bigger project. But that doesn't always necessarily end up in a better result, if you know what I mean. Which is where the indie games come in, which is one of the things that indie games do greatly, in my opinion. Which is,
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, so they think outside the box. They haven't got as much of budget to think about, so they innovate and gameplay mechanics and things like that. But I think it's definitely single player is here to stay. I really hope it is anyway. But because that's personally one of my things. I like to play a lot of single player games, but. yeah, it would be a real shame to see it go, but I really strongly don't believe it will be going anywhere. But yeah, multiplayer I think is the
It's
thing
the cash cow, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've got to think of a way with the single player that to keep it to keep that money coming in from that. I think, but like, you know, that's a trickier one, I would say. But the multiplayer free to play model looks like it's going to be the way forward for them. But unfortunately, it's not that appealing to me, the free to play model with all the microtransactions. But you know, that's the way it's looking like it's going, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, listen, who's to say? I believe that there is room in this industry that is vast with millions and millions of players. That both of them have a place now, and I believe later on as well. Real quick before I get to the next topic, and I think Enrique is going to appreciate this one. Rumple's foreskin with the with the two. I always laugh when I say the guy's name. I think he does it on purpose. With the
100%.
outstanding $2 super chat. Thank you so much. And Noof Nukem coming in, and he's an old school cat like me. Still buys his games on disc. Still appreciates single player. The outstanding $5 super chat. He says single player is like your. Oh my God. Okay. Get ready, folks.
Good one.
No chills. The single player is like your schlong. You play with it, beat it, and then and put it away. Well, you know what? You can't argue with that.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
That is because listen, the next topic is a good one. And one I'm excited about because of course I'm a huge Capcom fan. And I have been since the 80s, since back in the the NES days when Capcom ruled the roost. And it appears that Capcom is back. Devil May Cry 5 is releasing on March 8th, 2019. And with that said, some reviews are starting to come in, and it's looking really good for the next installment of the DMC franchise. And this is what's going to put a smile on Enrique's face, because we're both old school cats.
Yes.
One of the biggest and most strict review houses in Japan, known as Famitsu Wave. They have been in the gaming review business since June of 1986, and they're as relevant today as they were in 86. They are one of the most respected printed magazines in the entire world. Understand what I'm saying? Well, Devil May Cry 5 scored a phenomenal score, receiving a 9, a 10, a 9, and a 9 for Famitsu Wave, giving it a total score of 37 out of 40. Now, you folks don't understand how relevant and important that score is. There are very few games in the history of the magazine that have scored this high, and considering this is a return of the Dante we all know and love, it's a big deal. And let me tell you something, Enrique, I have to go to you immediately because I know you're chomping at the bit to talk about this. First of all, Famitsu Wave bringing it up, in the conversation is awesome because again, we're old school cats, but them scoring Devil May Cry 5 a 37 out of 40 is a big deal. What are your takes on that?
So I've been on the fence with Devil May Cry 5.
Okay.
I just have, because I've been disappointed in the previous Devil May Cry, except for the first two. And when you said Famitsu reviewed it, what it gave the score, what it did, and I'm thinking, like this is good. This is good. I remember, and Boom, you remember this, like 15 years ago, when games are coming on, like on the PlayStation 2, or even some of the Xbox games that were coming from Sega at the time. If Famitsu gave those games a review, they were pretty spot on. Those are typically good games. I mean, we talked about reviews earlier. They don't mess with. They are the toughest review house, I think, and have been, since I've been gaming. So when you said this, Boom, I said, oh my goodness. I said, maybe Capcom's onto something here. So my interest in this game has peaked quite a bit. And I'm looking forward to it now. I mean, I'm still a little bit on the fence, but getting that review from Famitsu, that review score, is certainly encouraging. But I'm certainly going to see what how the game reviews here before I drop $60. Because look, face it, there's so much content out right now that's coming out.
There
It's crazy.
really is so many games, dude. It's
Yeah.
outrageous. Yeah, no,
I
I
can't keep up
agree
with
with
it,
you.
So, but no, this is encouraging, man. I mean, they let me tell you something. A lot of people don't know this. They gave Halo 2 probably one of the highest review scores for a first-person shooter.
Yes.
And I remember back during the console wars back then, I remember a lot of the Xbox fans saying, "Oh yeah, look at this." Famitsu gave like I forget what the score was, but it was like the highest. Like it scored higher than like GoldenEye. I think even Halo Combat Evolved. But people were like, I remember people used that as bragging rights when Famitsu gave Halo 2 a high score.
Well, I mean, listen, it speaks volume, especially when you're saying, "Well, wait a second, I was on the fence," but when Famitsu Wave gave it this, now your interest was piqued. That in itself is a statement that could be a whole topic about, because that's the relevance of this media house. And how they hold themselves to such high standards.
The other thing too, Boom, that we should, for those who aren't familiar, it isn't just it's a combination of a combination of different review scores.
Yes.
So it isn't just like one person giving it a 9 or whatever.
Right.
There's you have a multitude of scores, which I think EGM used to do back in the day.
Yes, they did. EGM was fantastic, dude. Wow, that's really bringing it back.
Yeah, and I love that because you're not just getting the perspective of one review score; it's multiple review scores. So you're seeing that consistency, and that typically bodes well, I think, for games when you see that.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I'm going to say that, like I said, I was already excited. Again, the game is pre-ordered. No surprise. No collector's edition, unfortunately, but I do have the game pre-ordered. I can't wait.
You're not getting that $3,000 leather jacket or whatever it was.
I think it was almost 8,000 for the total.
Oh, was it 8,000?
$8,000. Came with the sword and the pants and a white wig. It was ridiculous. Only in Japan you'd see something like that. That would never be here in the States.
But it's not even lifelike, right? Like the leather jacket's like not even like you can't wear
leather, I think, is what it is.
Oh my goodness.
It's terrible. But one person will buy it, put it on the mannequin, and they're probably rich and will never even play the game. It's shameful. But Zolker, look, if you look at what Capcom has done in 2019, it's shaping up to be one of the biggest years for the company. That's been a long-running Japanese company, or more specifically, game developer. We've been privileged to play Resident Evil 2, the HD port of Onimusha, and this was just announced, and a lot of people may or may not know this. If you're a 3DS fan, the Phoenix Wright trilogy just went up for pre-order on Xbox Live. And it's $30 for all 3 games. So if you played it on the 3DS, that's a very, very fantastic series. And of course, now we have Devil May Cry 5. What are your takes on this score from Famitsu Wave? And what was Devil May Cry 5? A single player game, on your radar?
I'm gonna have a little bit of a controversial take on this.
Please, by all means, this is conversational podcast. Take it away.
So I enjoyed Resident Evil 2. I played the demo, and then I played a little bit at my buddy's house who had it, but except I played on PlayStation 4 with it. But anyways, we had it's a fun game. I enjoy that. I just have a problem with Capcom in general right now because of what they said last year. They said they're not going to make any new IPs because it's too risky.
And that's interesting, yeah.
And they said that they're going to kind of just stick to IPs that they've already had and not really make new IPs. And I don't like that. I don't. I want innovation. I want difference. I want different games, different experiences. The king of that right now is Sony. That's why I have a PlayStation 4 to play new games and play these exclusives that they have. And they did a really good job with it. To me, I even think God of War is a new game. It's almost a new IP when you.
I would agree with you on that. It was so radically different from the originals, and yes, I would consider it a new IP, even though technically it's not.
Yeah, so I just I understand Capcom, like where they're going with it, but to me, they've been around long enough where it's like you guys aren't broke. You can afford to make a new IP. I didn't really like Monster Hunter World. like at all. I returned the game. Like me and my buddies really didn't like it. I just didn't think the grouping system was done very well. Devil May Cry 5. I'm not a huge Devil May Cry fan.
Okay.
I thought the demo was really cool. I was actually impressed with the tech behind it and how they had a lot of things going on with it. The buildings collapsing and then you're going outside, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I enjoyed it. So I'll give them that. I enjoyed that. But again, their style of game, it just doesn't suit me as a gamer. And that's nothing to do with, like, oh, I hate them or anything. It just doesn't suit me. I'm not going to attack anybody that likes it. It's just my opinion. And I just want them to innovate. I don't like companies that say they're not going to try something new. And that's something that really turned me off from them. I think Microsoft had a problem like that this generation. They tried Rise and Sunset and Quantum Break. They at least put effort in to me. And now they're trying even more with these new studios.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I mean,
so
I see your point.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't want to sit here and rag on anyone's like enjoyment of what Capcom's doing, because I do see like, hey, they've had really high Metacritics. They've had really successful games. Monster Hunter World was I think their most successful game.
It's the most successful. Yeah, they sold over 12 million copies. It's the highest selling game in the company's history.
Wow.
Yeah. So and again, like, I'm like, hey man, good job. Like, as a company, good job as that. Like, you came out last year, knocked it out of the park. You're bringing out games that are finished. I'll give you that. Resident Evil 2 was finished when it launched. The remaster or whatever, the remake of it was finished. No, I didn't hear anybody have any problems with it. And I feel like Devil May Cry is going to be the same way. I give you props for that, but I still have that one little blemish where if you start bringing out new stuff for me, then I'll start looking at you as a, hey, good, like, even more. I'll look at you and be fond of you even more. But till then, I'm still looking at you a little side-eyed because I just want different things. I want different experiences. So yeah, that's a little controversial. I know a lot of people are not going to agree.
No,
with me.
listen, dude. But again,
I don't think it's controversial at all. I mean,
I don't think. Yes, I agree. I don't
Yeah.
think it's. I think it's your opinion, and by damn, you're absolutely. Why can't you say you don't like this, that, and the third? I say this all the time, and I don't think people get it, dude. Not every game is for every gamer.
Facts.
Yeah.
I mean, people act when you say you don't like a game. People are like, well, wait a second, how dare you? Or you do like a game. Wait a second, how dare you, folks? Opinions are like, what, right? Games are not for everyone. That's just, it is what it is. But
and I've told people that about the new Microsoft studios. I said, hey,
we're gonna get to Microsoft in a second.
I just told them like, hey, every game that these new studios or even old studios make are not going to be for you. And
yeah,
that's
correct.
Okay.
Yes,
that's facts. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think for guys like me and Boom, I think for us it's probably more nostalgic than anything else.
I agree.
Nostalgia, because Capcom kind of fell off the radar a little bit, and they were. I mean, I think you mentioned, Boom. They
were in financial disarray in 2016. They almost went bankrupt.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah, and they were kind of the kings back in the days, if you remember, Boom, with releasing Mega Man and all these great franchises that we all grew up loving and playing. And so I think for some of us it's just more nostalgia, but
and I think that's a big thing. Like, I didn't grow up with a lot of like the Resident Evil. I grew up with like Blizzard games. Like, that's what I grew up with. Like the new Warcraft 3 Reforged coming out in August or whatever it is. Yeah, I'm there day one, folks. I'm sorry. RTS games, strategy games that's my bag, baby, as Richard Crap would say. I'm going to be there day one playing it, sitting there like a kid, like just basically crying because I love RTSs, and StarCraft, when they redid that one, I own it day one. I was there and I still play the damn thing.
I would love to see StarCraft or the HD remake, if you will, come to the Xbox One. That would be fantastic.
I would be with keyboard and mouse. I would be so happy. I would play with everybody. Anybody would want to play. I love those games. So yeah, I get it. Like, I know this nostalgia is there for Capcom, and I get that, and that's why I don't bag on anybody, because I'm like, I'd be bagging on your childhood, and that's just not right to me.
Don't bag on my childhood, Zocker.
I never will.
No.
That's all good, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Indy, I want to get your opinion on this. Devil May Cry 5 is going to be a big title for Capcom. I'm thinking it's going to sell well because it is a strong single player game. I think it's going to sell extremely well. More specifically on the Xbox platform, not because they have the marketing deal, not because it's going to run better on the X, because there are a lot of single player fans that own only Microsoft systems. Which again, if you're a gamer in 2019, and again it's within your financial wheelhouse, support all 3 consoles, or at least at the minimum a PS4 and an Xbox One, so you can get those multiplayer and single player experiences. For you personally, this is a return. This is what I like about this indie is that this is a return to the old school Capcom that we all know and love. Is Devil May Cry 5 a day one buy for you?
It's not a day one buy for me, but down the line, quite possibly. Definitely, I mean, it will definitely be a pickup at some point, but not too far down the line, I would say.
So if you saw it for like $30, you'd be like, yeah, I'm in.
That's it. Yeah, you got it. Yes, I mean, it looks amazing. I mean, it's great to see the early reviews coming in so good. It's pretty epic scores, really. So it's really good. Hopefully, it sets the tone for the game, and hopefully, it does really well because so it's a great franchise. So it'd be good to see it back with a vengeance. But yeah, like Zolka was saying, it would be great to see Capcom doing some fresh IPs because they're a great studio, but I guess at the moment they're just trying to bolster up the houses just to make sure with the rocky time now they're getting back on form again after Resident Evil 2 and this and Monster Hunter. Now hopefully maybe they will potentially think about something new, but it's a risky. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But being an old school cat, I'm going to have to disagree with both of you guys, and I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, I've read on N4G, on Reddit, more specifically the 4chan forums, which I like to kind of hang around and look for Resident Evil stuff. From what has been spoken about in several different locations, Resident Evil 3, the remake, is in pre-production.
That's true. Yeah, good point. About that.
And I'm excited for that because the Nemesis is Resident 2 is my favorite game of all time, but Resident 3 is right there. I mean, I understand we want new stuff, but at the same time, I want new old stuff. Maybe because I'm an old man. I get it. I totally get it.
You can't resist a bit of Resident Evil at the end of the day.
Can't. It's my favorite franchise, dude. You say Resident Evil, and I'm all in. But
exactly, yeah. No, that's true.
They did such a great job with RE2.
Yeah,
dude. I beat it 4 times already.
Jeez.
That was in the first day as well, wasn't it?
A and B scenario with Claire and Leon.
Nice.
Is Capcom your favorite company?
Back in the days, yes. They fell off a bit because they kind of went, they weren't the Capcom of old. Now they're the Capcom of old. My favorite company is Malacca. Ubisoft,
yeah.
My favorite freaking company. I buy all their games. I say this: go gold, buy the $109 edition, like Boom.
That's what I did.
They are just been knocking it out of the park, left and right. But you know what, guys? What was that?
I said, give us some Splinter Cell.
Oh God, please! This is we need Splinter Cell in the worst way. I've been banging that drum since E3 2017, and I failed every year, and I'm saying it again this year, and I'm gonna fail again. I know it, but I want to move on to a next topic because it's in the title, and because you guys, I hold your opinions such to a high standard. I want to get your take on it. And this is, of course, this is an original written topic. I didn't pull any articles from this. I may mention one, but this is all written by me. With the recent announcement, guys, of the Xbox app and the Xbox Game Pass coming to the Nintendo Switch, as well as connected devices such as TVs, tablets, smartphones, and yes, of course, the PC. While being interviewed by Game Industry Biz on March 15th of 2018, Phil Spencer stated that by 2020, there were going to be 2 billion gamers. And again, this isn't a big surprise, folks. Microsoft intends to reach each and every one of them in a strategy that has many Xbox gamers, especially within this community, calling foul, claiming that the Xbox platform has become irrelevant, saying Phil Spencer has ruined the brand. Some have said Microsoft has lost the next generation before it starts. And I say stop it and grow the F up, please. Stop with the clickbait. Stop with the nonsense. Let's deal in facts. And right before we went live, a good friend of the show, someone who I really enjoy reading his work, Jez Gordon of Windows Central, put out a tweet, and it was referring to an article he wrote about how Xbox Game Pass could potentially, rumored to be going to PlayStation 4. And he says, I don't know why people took and ran, with the clickbait and ran stories on a rumor of it. And he said it, Xbox Game Pass is not coming to PS4. And I did again, if you missed yesterday's Xbox Factor podcast, I did a whole topic on another original topic, and we were on there for almost 30 minutes. And and the reasoning that I gave was an open and shut door kind of a case. But Enrique, the days of console sales, in my opinion, are over and have been for quite some time. No one's discounting what Sony's done in this generation. They're on near 100 million consoles. Good on them. And I've owned 4 of them in those 100 million. I purchased 4 in this generation. The number of how many consoles sold in year XX is an antiquated way of thinking. The issue here, Enrique, is that some content creators within the YouTube community are now just picking up their heads out of the sand when it comes to this particular topic. Do you think that people have to understand that gaming is changing and they have to accept it or just get out of the business?
Yeah, it obviously is changing, and I'm not sure where some of these folks were, a year ago when Phil said, "Hey, we want Xbox on every device." He wasn't kidding. I mean, he wasn't saying it for shits and giggles. And this is the direction of where the gaming industry is going. I mean, Sony's to an extent already done this with PlayStation Now, albeit that service isn't probably the best example of a streaming service, but they had PlayStation Now on Samsung, Sony TVs,
PlayStation TV, right?
Yep, and on PlayStation TV, and so this isn't new. This is something Nvidia has their own streaming service. We know about Google. Google's going to make an announcement at what's that?
Is it this month or next month?
I think it's this month, right? CDC,
March.
GDC, yes.
GDC. I'm sorry, I said
yes,
CDC.
yes.
That's a Center for Disease Control. GDC. See, I got split. I got
you gotta get Resident Evil on the brain.
That's Resident Evil on the brain.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, that and the Division. GDC. You're right, Zucker. It's this month, and so they're going to make an announcement there. And look, Google's already. They're already beta testing streaming. It's funny. We heard someone. Was that you, Boom? Said Malacca earlier.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
They're streaming Assassin's Creed.
I actually get that from Zolker because he's always yelling Malacca.
It's Colt. It's Colt. He's doing it.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, I'm Greek. I'm 100% Greek speaking.
Yes, I know you are.
Yeah, so we totally just, they always say it to me. I'll join a party. They're like, Malaga. Okay, guys.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Excuse me, that's hilarious. Man. My brother-in-law is Greek, so it's. I was telling him I was playing this game.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, and I said in every other line's like Malacca. But yeah, this is where the industry is going. And look, I mean, I've seen people, to your point, Boom, say, oh, they've ruined the brand. They don't care about the Xbox gamers. The brand is Xbox. The brand isn't the hardware per se. It's
right.
Xbox is the brand, and they're just looking to tap into an additional. Really at the end of the day, I mean, they're looking to just generate more money at the end of the day. And you do that by, getting in front of more gamers. But if they don't do it, and I've been saying this for a long time, if they don't do it, someone else is going to do it. And I talked about that. We talked about this on BRAP this Wednesday, and I'll bring up my kids again. Boom, you and I grew up in a completely different generation.
We certainly did. Yes.
Remember where there's no internet, Boom? Remember that was like when you actually had to pick up the phone and and call someone, and you didn't have Facebook to communicate with them or texting. Remember that?
Dude, I can tell you a funny quick story. Before I even had a computer, my friend Jada the Destroyer, who I grew up with, he's always been a tech savvy kind of a guy. I used to call him up, when we were gaming. I'm like, "Hey, dude, any Capcom news?" And he would read me news from the internet because he had a computer and I didn't. How ridiculous is that?
Yeah,
You guys make me feel like I'm old because I remember those days. I remember when there was we owned a restaurant and I would walk up to the Safeway and look for the latest like game magazine and get like gaming news from there and look at what new games are coming. And then I'd come, and we had it in the city, so my dad would be looking for me and I'd be up in Safeway reading in the magazine section, PC Gamer or whatever the hell gaming magazine it was. And then I'd come back and my mom would just grab me by the ear and be like, "Where the hell were you?" And I'm like, "Reading games." Like 6-year-old me or 5-year-old me.
Put that toy down and it's a magazine.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, at least you're reading, but it's about games. But yeah. But keep going. Sorry for interrupting.
But no, I mean, and so I bring up that point because we grew up playing games where we would go to Funko Land or Babbage.
Oh, I worked there. I was a manager.
Nice. Yeah, and that's those of us or those of you guys who don't know what Funko Land is. Or Babbage's. Those are the stores that came before what we know as GameStop.
Yeah.
Yep. I went down the street from my house.
You guys had a Funko Land or a Babbage's?
I had a Funko Land.
Nice, yeah. And so that's where you went to go buy games, and that's all changed with the digital era of entertainment and gaming's entertainment. Gaming's not immune to some of these technological changes that we've seen impact how we consume music and movies, and so it just like this is like the natural progression. It just for me it almost just makes sense that Microsoft will be doing this because. Think about this. They talk about engagement, and if you think about engagement, and you think about, I go back to my kids. My kids are experiencing gaming for the first time in a completely different way than I experienced gaming. And what I mean by that is their first gaming platforms. My first gaming platform was a home console. Their first gaming platform is a mobile device. So think about that. Their expectation as they get older is one: I play on a mobile device. My gaming's done on the fly. I mean, they do play on the consoles. Don't get me wrong, but their expectation is I'm always connected to my friends. I have access to all my content on the fly, and that's going to be the expectation of the future gamer. And if Microsoft doesn't do this, they're not going to be in the gaming business because Google's going to do it, or Amazon's rumored to be jumping into the gaming industry. Apple, I think, has been rumored too. If they don't do this, someone else is going to. And at the end of the day, I don't know about you guys. If I didn't have to spend $500 on a box and I could get the same quality of gaming experience streaming on my TV, charge me $60 a year, whatever the service is, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, a lot of people would be. I mean, me personally, I mean, look, here's the thing. I know I'm an old school cat. And the one thing people seem to forget is that the box is going to matter for quite some time. Yes, because 4K 60 could not be done streaming. The world as we know it has a lot of rural areas that just cannot do. Some of them can't even do 4G, let alone 5G, which is what a lot of these things are going to run on. And you can't have some people getting the gaming because they have the technology, and other people's not having it and not giving them a choice to buy a box to have that traditional hardware. Folks, this isn't going to change for years. Really great point, Enrique. Zolker, it's a proven hashtag fact that consoles do not see a profit within the first 3 years of its lifespan. The software has always been where the profits have come from. And this is not new by any stretch of the truth. Gamers seem to forget that this industry is a business and must find new ways to remain relevant. Do you feel that Microsoft has made the correct call in being the first one to the well, so to speak, with having the Xbox app or X Play everywhere?
I hope they are, and I hope the biggest thing to me, the biggest obstacle is, so I've said this before, Microsoft has two customers. One is us, the people buying the games, and two is the
Right.
developers that are making stuff for Xbox. They're a customer. You know, they make 30% off every game that gets sold on Xbox. 30% is a big chunk, people. That's why that's why the consoles aren't going anywhere. That platform's not going anywhere. To reach the 2 billion to reach the 2 billion gamers they're talking about, you need the 200 million console gamers too.
Correct. Yes,
So
absolutely.
when people are saying Xbox is irrelevant, I don't understand that at all, because you look at Steam. Steam tried getting in the console industry and failed. That's just a fact. They tried doing it. They tried making a console or a box with controller, and it just didn't work. Getting in the console space is a hard thing to do, and Microsoft did it. They have a foundation. They have a fan base, and they're not going to get rid of that fan base. If anything, they're doubling down like they said they are, and they're going to keep going. The thing is that we're not the only customer they're looking at. There's also the developer who they're going to look at and be like, yeah, if you come on our platform, you have the potential to sell millions more because of xCloud, because of all the little features that we're putting into it, that it's just up to you if you want to use them. We're going to have them there, and if you want them on that platform, you can put them on there, and you have the potential to meet or to reach hundreds of millions depending on how this goes. Do you think a developer is going to sit there and go, nah, I'm good? No. They're gonna be like, yeah, F it, put it on there. You know what? Actually, let me optimize this game a little better for you. Let me optimize. Let me put a little more effort into it. Oh, it's easier to develop on the Xbox because it is right now.
It is. That is
developers
correct.
have
Yes.
talked about the X and the Pro and how much more easy it is to develop for the X now. And if they're going to transfer that, like the S and the original Xbox Ones are going to get faded out, except they're going to use the xCloud to keep that market still there, because it is, 30 million people, that's a lot of people on those platforms, on the S and the X, or not, I'm sorry, the S and the original Xbox. And they're going to use the cloud to basically fill in the gap between power.
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
And so you got to think of it that way, that they're not starting from ground, from zero, right? They're not looking at developers going, we're bringing out this new console and you're going to sell whatever the console sells pretty much. And maybe you'll sell 40% to 30% of whatever sells in the console. No, they're going to be like, here's Xbox Ones, new consoles and PC people, and this and this and this. And if you put this on here, that's what's going to happen. Bigger market, math just adds up, people. I'm sorry. The closest language we have to the gods is math.
Yes.
And that shit adds up.
Yeah. Well, it's a business, Ulker. I think people, people have to remove their personal likes and biases out of the equation and understand that yes, they're making these games for you. They are.
Yeah.
But they are making the games to make money.
Yeah, and that's something that's the weirdest thing to me, is that I've only been in the community for five months about, and I've made really good friends and everything, but I understand that, like, before it was kind of hardcore here, right? 2014, 13, 15. I know what I've heard the stories, and I'm just like, man, but I don't really care what those people have thought, because to me, Xbox during the 360 era, you look at their best games, they were made by usually second party people. Epic made Gears of War. Mass Effect and all these other games were second party. We have never in the history of Xbox seen this many studios, this much investment, and the hashtag 20 by 2020, that means 20 studios by 2020 people.
Right.
That's what that means. And that's something I brought out a video saying that they want to bring out 4 AAA games. If you're not excited for Xbox now, you're never going to be excited for Xbox.
That's a great point.
And I'm sorry, you're just, it's not meant for you. Xbox isn't meant for you, which sucks, because this is looking amazing. They're looking to be a driving force, like Sony, like Nintendo, like a bunch of companies in the gaming industry, and to push it forward. And if you don't think that Google, Amazon, and Apple are keeping an eye on gaming, especially Google, if you don't think they have plans to get into gaming, you're sorry for my language, fucking delusional.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Listen, this is an adult show, and you're 100% right, because
Boom, can I interject real quick?
Please, by all means.
To Zucker's point about Google, some people don't know this. They already have made moves. Like I mentioned, the streaming, they're beta testing the streaming of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. they hired Phil Harrison. If you guys remember who Phil Harrison
Yes.
is or was, he was at Microsoft, albeit didn't have a really good run at Microsoft with the Xbox division, but he was there at Sony when the PlayStation launched and had a lot to do with the success of that console. So the PlayStation 1.
Well, that's why they hired him in Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean,
they wanted to bring that know-how from what made Sony the PS1 such a a monster seller, and he did what he did at Microsoft, and now he's moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in people think about the date Xbox brought out that xCloud video with Phil Spencer and all those engineers talking.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. They brought it out when people were testing Google streaming.
Yep.
This isn't a hey, let's go after Sony thing. This is a hey, let's go after an everything thing.
Yeah.
This is a let's keep our cloud business and our stuff that's making us the most money relevant still for a different market.
Yeah.
And well, that's what they're doing.
Wouldn't you guys agree then that for Microsoft it's more they probably view, not that they don't view Sony as a competitor, but probably more so Google and Apple, right? And Amazon.
I think so I'm in the middle of the tech world. I'm in Silicon Valley. It's cutthroat here, folks. If you it's pretty hardcore over here. Like they will poach and pick workers. You have to sign contracts to stay for a certain time. You get paid out the ass to do it, stock options, stuff.
There's
like
NDAs
that.
all over the place.
NDA, yeah, I'm under like 2 NDAs right now for projects that I work on. I'm a programmer, I'm a developer, I'm a UX designer. So I can't talk about certain things I work on, but again, they are not relevant in gaming, but that it's just the way it is. Ideas are key here. And so what I'm going off of is that for the first time, so I think this is more to combat Google, right? This xCloud thing's to combat Google. I think what they're working on with Nintendo is to combat Sony. I don't know. I mean,
interesting.
They've been talking about, everybody's been talking about Game Pass coming in to Switch, all this stuff and all this going on. And I don't know if you guys listen, but a couple people have said, yeah, I don't know if it's the Game Pass thing or if they're working on something else because nobody knows what it is.
Right. No, it's from what I understand, from what little contacts I have, it's something big. It's something significant.
Yeah, it's huge.
It is a big deal. Game Pass is the easy way, right? The Game Pass on, whatever. But there's a lot of hurdles. I don't know who I was listening to. My God, I'm terrible like that. I was listening to a show where they were saying you can't just drag and drop Halo onto the Switch. It's just you can't do it. It just won't work. You know what I'm saying? So it's something significant. When we first heard this a couple of E3s ago, what my small thinking, because I'm a platform guy, right? I'm like, wow, Banjo-Kazooie and Smash. That's what it is. And it's from what I've heard, and again, you've heard, and many people have heard, it's big what they're working on, and I think it's gonna be announced at this E3.
Yeah, I mean, we don't we don't know. I think that Nintendo, for me personally, and I'm pretty sure Brad Sam said this, and I had the same thing, and he basically took the words out of my mouth when I was listening to the podcast. Is Microsoft and Nintendo don't look at each other as competitors.
No, they don't.
But in the Japanese market, Nintendo does look at Sony as competitor, and they look at them as competitors in a lot of things. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend?
Friend.
Yep.
Yes.
And
indeed.
I think that they're working on something pretty big. We don't know what it is. And again, things change. Maybe nothing ever happens. We don't know. But right now, it's been reported by multiple people that are in the know that something's going on. We just don't know what it is. And we don't want to report on it because, hey.
You need the facts. It's okay to throw an opinion up there, but.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's great journalism to me. They're like, yeah, we know something's going on, but we don't want to report on it because, hey, we don't have all the information. And
correct.
Good job, thank you. And that's I like that. But again, and this is and the reason why they're being careful, because this is huge. This is a big thing going on right now. So, I think Microsoft is making a lot of the right moves. I think that this year, Phil Spencer said that for the last 3 to 4 years, they've been basically planning shit. And now he said it's all about the execution this year. And that's what it is. They're trying to execute their plan to see if it'll work. And it might not. You never know. Darkest timeline, everything sucks. Who knows? But let's hope it's not like that. And I don't think it will be. I think we're gonna have. I think it's just exciting, people. It's gonna be exciting to see what happens with Microsoft.
Yeah. No. It again. If you're not excited now, then maybe the brand is not for you. But Indy, I want to get your last point on this. Listen, more games, more gamers buying games or playing through Xbox Game Pass will fund the purchase of additional studios, which we're now hearing hashtag 20 and 20. And there's that's got a lot of legs. And more studios equals what? More AAA games being developed. And I say hashtag Xbox gamers win. And my question to you, there's a lot of people running, and like I said, I put in the title of the show, people quitting Xbox. I've seen YouTubers completely go off the freaking rails, man. I mean, like they were Xbox channels, and they're like, Sony, welcome me, I'm coming home. And it's crazy.
I'm coming home.
My question,
they're crying, man.
Wait, are you serious?
Dude, it is.
I haven't seen this.
I'll talk to you off the air. I don't want to.
We'll name some names after.
Yeah. I don't want to mention any names, but
anybody.
It's outrageous what it is.
Oh my God,
my question to you, Indy, is this. There's a lot of uncertainty within what Microsoft is doing. And in your opinion, do you think that it might behoove Microsoft, more specifically Phil Spencer, to get ahead of this uncertainty, people quitting Xbox and running for the hills? Do you think it would be beneficial for the company for him to set up an interview with like Forbes or Business Weekly or GameIndustry.biz and kind of just put the masses' fears to bed on what they're doing with the brand?
Possibly. Maybe they're saving. Do you think they're saving that for E3? Maybe to do the big rollout of it all. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot up in the air at the moment for sure. But I'm all for it in a way. But as long as they don't lose their identity doing it, if you know what I mean. More games is always better, and things changed. If you look back a few years, entertainment, technology was so different. It's always changing, evolving. You've got to keep ahead of the times, and Xbox are pretty good at looking for the next thing. So I'm all for it. I don't try to overthink it too much. There's a lot up in the air at the moment, which will be good to find out some more of the facts on it and stuff. But you guys have really, you're all over it. You've got some amazing points, which I've been listening to and enjoying. But as far as from my perspective, I'm up for anything that brings us more games, and more studios is definitely an amazing thing. And I'm all for it. It's just like the only thing I think that could be a slight concern is if they, like I say, lose their identity, rolling it out to too many other platforms, and then it's just they lose their sort of core sort of identity. I said that word a lot now, but that's what I'm saying. It's okay.
It's a great point, Indy. Very great point.
Yeah, that's how I feel anyway. But like, I'm up for the change. I'm up for the moving forward with everything. Yeah, I think it's exciting times for sure.
Yeah, well, listen, it's this has been incredible. Now, listen, guys, if you don't mind, I know that we kind of hung around on a couple of topics a little longer than I would have liked. I do have one more. It's a fun one. It's going to be quick, and I just want your opinion on it, and then we'll get you guys out of here. There's no doubt that the Nintendo Switch is a hit. Enrique, I know we were talking privately about how your kids just completely take over the Switch.
Yeah, I gotta buy. I'm gonna have to buy one for myself.
Yeah, and we talked about that. That's how funny is that? The first party offerings are what Nintendo fans come to expect. Owning a new piece of hardware. And I've actually personally never been more happier, because not only do I enjoy it immensely myself, I get the amazing privilege to spend a significant amount of time with my outstanding and awesome nephew, Tyler, who loves it more than his Uncle Theo, which is what he calls me. And two particular games are slated to release in 2019. They are third-party games. One is an exclusive, and one is a generational a game considered the game of the generation. The Witcher 3 is currently in development for the Switch. And Bayonetta 3, which was thought not to be hit until 2020, is scheduled, according to rumors, to come out in towards the end of 2019. Nintendo is going to have another monster year. I wanted to get your opinion on, something that notoriously has hurt Nintendo and that's of course the third party games coming to the console. And it seems like everyone wants to be on the Switch. Enrique, like I said, you said you have to buy another one because your kid said, "Pop, that's it, you're out. This is ours. Bye." Again, a showrunner who talks about Nintendo, who has fans on his panel of Nintendo, being a Nintendo fan, how exciting is it to have The Witcher 3 on the go, and of course Bayonetta 3, which is an exclusive?
Well, when Reggie announced Bayonetta 3, obviously I was really excited for that game. It's one of my favorite Platinum games. The Witcher 3 is interesting. Like, how are they going to pull this off?
I don't know. I don't know, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. But to be frank, like I put so much time in The Witcher 3. I don't think, and again, this goes back to not because it's on the Switch, but this has to do with there's just so many games coming out. I don't know if I can go back and play.
Well, that's a 100-hour game.
Yeah, like I don't know if I could do that again. Like like I played Persona 5, and if that came out on the Switch, I don't know if I could go back and put 120 hours into that game again. But no, it's exciting. I'm really curious to see how The Witcher 3 is going to run on the Switch, though. That's kind of what kind of piqued my interest. Like, is this thing going to have frame rate issues? It's going to be
probably.
Yeah, scaled back a little bit. Like what like how are they going to do this? And not only that, are they going to? Because look, that is a mature title. If you've played The Witcher 3, there's some adult themes and scenes there. Geralt loves his women. And is that going to be included? And I'll say this much: the one thing that excites me about seeing a game like The Witcher 3, because it's a mature, themed game, is that, and it's a third party game, is that Nintendo's really getting some great third party support, and they're getting some variety now to their their offerings of games to to Switch owners, which I think is great. I mean, I think you have those games that appeal to, like, I'll bring up my kids again, like my kids like Mario Kart, and
you have Yoshi this month as well. That's that's gonna be a big game for them.
Yep. And Mario Tennis, and then like me, here comes Dad. I can play The Witcher 3. So I think it's great that they're offering that kind of variety for the Switch, and it's only gonna do more good for that platform. And I'm just excited to see Nintendo back and doing well. Yeah, I really am. At the end of the day, I really am. And the Wii U is such a disappointment. That this is just great to see Nintendo firing on all cylinders and getting some strong support from the development community.
Yeah, no doubt about that. For sure. I mean, look, let me just say this, Zolker. Nintendo hit lightning in a bottle with the Wii. We understand that it was, it was it was the casual folks, the older folks that were playing Wii bowling. Shit, I still play Wii bowling. I love it. It's simple, but it's fun as hell. I just really enjoy it. I wish they would actually come out with Wii bowling on the Switch called Switch Bowling, and sign me up. I'll spend $50, no problem. But there's something that Nintendo was able to do with this hybrid console. And obviously their first party is their strongest suit, but the third party developers, you're seeing the Wolfensteins, and you're seeing the Dooms, and you're seeing all of these, all these other companies release third party games. Even if they're a little older, it's okay, because you still have the strong first party that we all know and love. But at the same time, if you're a traveling kind of a dude, that sits on a lot of planes. Maybe you'll play through Doom again. Maybe you'll play through The Witcher 3 again on the go. But in regards to someone who appreciates the industry from a simple point of view, isn't it great to see Nintendo, like Enrique just said, getting the third-party support, especially with like 2 big games coming out this year?
Oh yeah, I'm actually really happy that Nintendo's giving everybody a run for their money. I mean, they're selling like crazy. The first party games, everybody knows what the first party games entitle when you get a Nintendo. That's kind of the main reason you get it, almost, is because you're going to get your Zeldas, you're going to get your Marios, and to me, the biggest game is you're going to get your Smash. I love Smash Brothers.
Yes, I suck at it, but I love it.
Yeah, no, my buddy had one, and he came over with his Switch, and we just like sat there and played. The resolution hurt, but it was a fun time. We had a great time playing it, and the third-party developers, of course, they're putting their games on this. The attach rate is ridiculous.
It's outstanding. Yes, it's
ridiculous, and that's what third-party developers see, and maybe that's what
what's
Xbox.
the attach rate right now on the Switch?
Well, I mean, I think it was over 100% for Zelda.
Yeah, it was.
Bought the game before they even had.
Yes.
Oh my god,
that's true. Yeah,
that's
right.
It was ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and so. And I think Bethesda was kind of, if I could be wrong, people, Bethesda was kind of the first ones to capitalize on that.
Yes.
And be like, hey, let's throw this on there. And then that game sold like crazy on the Switch. And that's what it does. Like, in your point of like, I don't know if I have 100 hours to put into Witcher. Well, you're kind of looking at it as, I don't know if I have 100 hours to sit on this chair and watch my TV screen and my console. But what happens if you're waiting outside and you just launch Witcher and you play a mission? Play another one, and you take it with you on the go. That's where I think, it's crazy. Nintendo in Japan right now, they sold more than the PS Vita.
Yes,
already.
They did.
And about, what was it, like a year and a half?
And the Vita was out for 6 years there. Yes.
8 years.
6 years.
6 years longer than Nintendo Switch.
Wow.
So you're sitting there, and that's what they're doing. And that's, the thing to go back to Microsoft and tie all this stuff up to me is that I think Microsoft sees that as a kind of a Trojan horse to break into the Japanese market.
That's a great point.
Good point.
Yes.
Because you look at what they're doing in Japan, they're selling like crazy, and console game sales in Japan have been declining steadily and to the point of almost drastically. And people don't know that because in Japan, in a lot of the Asian market, they love mobility. Mm-hmm. They love taking their stuff with them. They love their phones. They love that. They love the Switch and its mobility. And Microsoft can't compete with anybody there because of that. And because, they don't really get supported out there. The 360 was probably the biggest supporter, but again, it didn't sell that well there. And that's the point. I think they have it as maybe we can use the Switch as a Trojan horse, and Nintendo, who's been killing it. Like, you got to give them mad respect because not only did they bring out a freaking awesome piece of hardware, they brought out amazing exclusives with it. And not just exclusives where you're like, well, that was an okay game. Like, wow, this was like a generation setting game like Zelda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And that's what people don't understand. And that's what a lot of companies are looking at. Look at Microsoft with Halo Infinite, right? They're bringing out Halo Infinite right when the new Xbox comes out because they looked at what Zelda did. Attach your biggest franchise on launch, you're going to sell some damn consoles.
And they did.
Yeah.
And they did. And they sold like crazy and people bought it. I have friends that have a Switch that I never thought they would in their life. I'm like, why do you have one? And they're like, oh, no, it's just cool. Like, I can just take it with me.
It's just cool.
And I'm like,
great.
I'm like, all right, so what do you do? They're like, well, I'm at work and I'll be waiting for someone to upload or render or this at work. I just bust out my Switch and play for like 20 minutes. And I'm just like, oh, shit. Like, I guess.
Lightning in the bottle once again.
Yeah, and that's all they say is like, it's just kind of cool. That's literally their thing. It's just kind of cool. Like, I just have it.
That's great.
It's just there. It's available. I'm like, damn. Like, yeah, I guess.
That's such a casual thing to say, though, isn't it? I mean.
Yeah, like I have a bunch of casual friends, and they watch my YouTube video, and they're like, "Yeah, I didn't realize I was casual until I watched your stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm way too into this. All these guys, everybody in here in the community, we're into this stuff, and we love it. And he's like, yeah, I can tell. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's just the way it is. But that's the number one thing. If it's cool, they'll buy it. That's like the number one line I hear. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
It's trendy also. Yeah, if it's trendy and it's cool, it's in.
Yeah, exactly.
Snowball effect then, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what, Indy, I'm glad you jumped in because we're going to get your last point. We're going to get you guys out of here. We are over 2 hours. This has been an incredible show. Indy, to see, again, you're in your name. The one thing that Nintendo does very, very well is support the Nindies. That's their coin term. And they have and they're selling very well on the Switch. People don't mind dropping a couple of bucks on a game that no one else is playing, especially if you can go on the go. For you as a gamer, you're a gamer. How awesome is it to see Nintendo doing this well?
Oh, it's great. I think definitely. I mean, you just need to look at their releases, and there's so many games always coming out on it. It's just crazy. You got. I really think it's a really good thing that they're getting all the sort of the older sort of games in there too, like the Dooms and the Wolfensteins and stuff. I think actually with those sort of games as well, I think they're almost intentionally bringing the mature themes across. Because,
yes, good point. Great point.
You've got like the other stuff covered, haven't you, with Nintendo? But yeah, it's good to have a bit of a mix in there. So they're bringing across that kind of thing, I think, to mix it up a bit and give a bit of variety to the overall catalogue. But yeah, like I say, there's so many games always coming out. You've got like Mortal Kombat 11 coming out on it as well.
Unbelievable.
Which is going to be interesting to see how that turns out. But yeah, I think they'll make it happen.
Do we get blood this time with Mortal Kombat on Nintendo?
Let's hope so.
You're going to get green sweat is what you're going to get.
That's a good point, actually.
Only the Super Nintendo kids will know what we're talking about there, Enrique.
Hey, let me tell you something.
That one.
That was a console wars battle between Genesis and Super Nintendo.
Was. We got blood, you don't.
Yep, we got blood, you don't.
Oh my god.
That's some old school rips right there, man.
Yeah, definitely. But no, the indie support is amazing on Switch for sure. Definitely. I mean, always got great stuff coming out over there, which sometimes you don't see popping out on the Xbox until like a year later and things. So yeah, it's doing damn good, and it's really good to see it doing well for sure.
Yeah, well, listen, like I said, dude, another fantastic point, Indy. Thank you so much. Real quick before we get into the outros, Axel 1324 with the incredible $10 super chat. Thank you so much for that. He says, good show, guys. In single player, the experience is the same for everyone with little randomness. Multiplayer is a new experience almost every single time and creates amazing memories. Hashtag co-op gamer. That's a great point. That's a really good point. But you know what? Like I was saying earlier, this show went better than I thought it could have been. We had a lot of real power topics. We were able to sneak everything in. I think I have one or two topics I didn't get in there that I wrote, but I'll get that in on another show. First of all, thank you, my panel. I mean, I can't do this show without having a panel that knows what they're talking about, that is in tune with this community, and all of you guys are, and of course what can I say about the chat? I say it every time. You guys, even with no moderator in today, we're just fantastic. You treat everyone with respect. You use some curse words every now and again, and we're all adults. No one's gonna scold you. But being nice with each other and still having a different opinion, it really does mean a lot to me personally. I've been told that this is the friendliest chat on YouTube, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I promote positivity and of course I shun against bullying. And you get that in a lot of these other shows chats. There's a lot of bullying going on because you have a different opinion, and everyone in this chat really should just be really proud of themselves that you handle it like adults and that you just come here to have a good time. But Enrique, I want to get you out of here. Listen, your show was one of the first shows I found on YouTube when I came over to this community, and I've been a fan ever since. I think your work and your panel's work over there is phenomenal. You guys just broke the 1,000 subs, which is a big deal. It's a big deal for content creators, and I want to see you 5 times that amount by the end of 2020. And I think you guys deserve it. You put on a good show every Wednesday. I've been on it numerous times. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, and more importantly, follow the show that you do.
Yeah, no, and Boom, I just want to say, man, it's always a pleasure coming onto your show. You are the hardest worker in the business, man. I love the thought and time that you put into the topics, man. It shows you always run a great show, man. So thank you again. It's always a pleasure coming on, and great panel as always, man. You do a wonderful job. So everyone, make sure you hit that like button. I think there's more people in the live chat than there are likes or watching. So just make sure you hit that like button. But yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can. You can follow me at BRAP. That's BRAP_podcast. And if you go to YouTube, you can find us at the Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. We go live every Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That's great. And you know what? Everyone should get over there and follow them. It's important. They the quality work that comes out of that panel, it can't be minimized. You guys have great chemistry. It's very well done. It's professional. Even when your opinion's different with each other, because sometimes you guys don't fight, but you're like, no, I see it this way, you see it this way. It's still done in a good way. Real quick though, Yobi Dren with the $15 super chat. Wow, dude, thank you so much for that. He says, peace, love, life, changing the world one game at a time. BoomStick, you are great. Well, thank you for that. That's very kind of you to say. If you're okay with it, let's do a giveaway for DMC 5 when it releases. And dude, that's very kind of you to do that. Yes, if you I'm gonna hit you up in the DM after the show, and we'll talk about that. And Vogelskrieg, a big friend of the show, drops an outstanding $10 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, great show, was another great panel. Love all of your shows, Boom. Follow and sub to all of these guys. Yes, thank you for that. That's very kind of you to say. And we definitely appreciate it. And Zolker, listen, let me tell you something. You are, in my opinion, rookie of the year. You have come in. You have proven yourself as one of the more competent new cats on the scene. You bring a passion to gaming. You are a fantastic addition to RDX. Dealer signed you before I could, so F him. And no, of course I'm good friends with Dealer, but your channel is exploding, and for proper reason. You bring a lot of like I said, passion to your videos. You do daily videos. Please tell everyone where they can follow you, and more importantly, subscribe to your channel.
Yeah, you guys, I'm at Zolker87 on YouTube. I try to put as much content as I can, with work and everything, but I enjoy doing it. I always take time to, really inform my viewers and everybody about gaming and just games in general, specific games or game news, whatever. I love making it. I love interacting with you guys. Go over there, give me a sub. I'm also on Twitter at Zolker87. You can find me there. I always post new gameplays or news and my videos and all that. And I'm also actually just started this week. I started Twitching for fun.
Okay,
and
nice.
I just did it for fun, and I've actually interacted with a lot of people that maybe I didn't get to interact with in video, or maybe I didn't see on a podcast, but they're like, hey, I listen to you here, and we get into real conversations and talk. So if you guys ever see me twitching, I try to do it at least like 3 to 4 times a week, usually after RDX, or usually just during the night, or sometimes in the morning on the weekend. I try to get that going now. So it's a lot of fun with interacting with you guys, and I just love doing it. I love playing games and talking, and a lot of my games are competitive, so you will hear me cuss. And you will hear me get angry at other people. I am a rager.
But will you yell Malacca? That's what I want to know.
That would be the calm thing to yell. I'd be happy to yell that, so it's not crazy, but it's usually a big loud F word if I get killed, and I'm just like, God, So yeah, but everybody, that's where you guys can find me. And Boom, thank you so much for having me on. I always love it, even if I have to wake up before Jesus is up.
Yeah, well,
I get here.
I definitely appreciate it, dude. Please have a Red Bull on me, or a cup of coffee, or both. Just don't drink them together, otherwise you're gonna give yourself a heart attack. The indie gamer, listen, dude, we've become very good friends, and I love your way of thinking. It is very much like mine. It is a very fair thought process that you have. You do great work on your channel. Obviously, I trust you enough that I want to make you one of the moderators of the channel, because you're always in the chat and you're always supporting others. And I think more people need to support your channel, and of course follow you on Twitter, because you do have a lot to say and you are a shining star, in my opinion, in this community. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, please sub his channel.
Thank you so much. Honestly, Boom, those words really do mean an absolute world. I'm not don't say that lightly. You're honestly the man, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure being on again today, guys. All rock stars on the panel. Absolutely looking up to you guys, trying to soak up as much as your goodness, and you're inspiring me to try and improve with my own channel and everything I do. So it's been great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the chat. You're all awesome as always, everyone in there. So yeah, with regards to my channel, Daz has just dropped a little link in the chat, but my Twitter is at so it's indie_gamer_01. If you want to follow me over on Twitter, that'd be awesome. And also my YouTube channel is just appeared into the chat as well via UK Dazarus.
Yes.
So have a look at that. That'll be awesome. I dropped a review yesterday of an indie games called Degrees of Separation, if you fancy a look at that. And also I've been focusing down on the indie stuff on the channel, so trying to keep everyone in the loop on the undiscovered indie games that don't get the advertisements that they deserve, the promotion that bigger games get. So trying to share out some of the smaller games with you guys to see if it's something that you might want to pick up for yourself. So if you do want to find out about some indie games, follow me over there, please. Thank you very much, guys. It's been awesome.
Yeah, he's a great dude. Very nice and awesome part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely, Zolka. Great point. Well, listen, before we get out of here, again, I'm going to say thank you to the chat. A very, very big thank you. The generosity for the super chats has been nothing short of breathtaking. Thank you so much for that. Thank you again to my panel. Please, everyone, enjoy gaming this weekend. Be safe. Treat people with respect. And of course, respect other people's opinion. And I will see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom. Take care, everyone, and have a fantastic day.
Let everybody.
Have a good
Hey guys.